Now to the nuclear submarine deal, or perhaps to describe AUKUS more accurately, the new defence technology partnership between Australia, the US and the UK. The reaction to yesterday's surprising announcement, yesterday's historic deal, well, the reaction has been so predictable and formulaic from China that it's almost theatrical.
To Beijing, this is clear provocation and this is a military threat, even though the leaders of the three countries did not explicitly mention China when announcing this new security arrangement. We have seen that the intent was clear.
Look, as if that isn't hysterical enough, let me read to you a slab from the Global Times, the English language paper that shares the Chinese Communist government's views. It says Washington's losing its mind, rallying allies against China, creating antagonism and destruction, and attacking China without assessing the possibility of backfiring. It goes on to say there used to be no grudges between China and Australia, and because of distance, there are no geopolitical conflicts between the two countries. However, by tilting toward the US in the China-US strategic game, Australia has turned itself into an adversary of China, says the Global Times. It's now escalating confrontation with China, with nuclear-powered submarine patrols clearly targeted at China, says the Global Times. It goes on to call Australia a running dog of the US and says Canberra shouldn't think it has the capability to intimidate China with nuclear-powered submarines and offensive missiles. If Australia dares to provoke China, China will certainly punish it with no mercy. And Australian troops are likely to be the first batch of Western soldiers to waste their lives in the South China Sea. Wow, this is coming from a country that claims to be our friend and our great trading partner. It is unhinged stuff, and it shows what kind of a regime we're dealing with here, doesn't it? Our Defence Minister reacted from Washington.
I think the propaganda that we've seen from a number of spokespersons or the media outlets that speak on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party, frankly, I think they make the case for us. I think their comments are counterproductive and immature and frankly, embarrassing.
The diplomatic task now to try to improve relations with China has certainly become even more difficult. Not that Beijing was taking calls from our ministers anyway. Back in Australia, the only people sounding as hysterical as Beijing were, of course, the Greens.
It's a dangerous decision that will make Australia less safe by putting floating Chernobyls in the heart of our major city, increasing the risk of nuclear war in our region and putting Australia right in the firing line. It's a terrible decision. It's one of the worst security decisions in decades.
That's what you call a political meltdown. Now, the unfortunate party in all of this, of course, is France. Whatever your assessment of their submarines and their ability to help us deliver them, the French have been dudded big time.
Vraiment, en bon français, un coup dans le dos. Nous avions établi avec l'Australie une relation de confiance. Cette confiance est trahie. Et je suis aujourd'hui en colère, avec beaucoup d'amertume sur cette rupture.
It's awkward, isn't it? That's a pity. It's Australia's fault, and repairing this relationship too is going to take a bit of work. Still, all this is manageable, it should be, and it'll be worthwhile if we end up with the submarines we want and the maritime security that we need. Successive governments, Labor and Liberal, have studiously avoided making the right decisions on subs for decades. And it turns out we've wasted decades and tens of billions of dollars because political considerations have trumped our defence and strategic needs. We've been too scared of confronting the nuclear backlash and too focused on using the subs deals, the manufacturing deals, to create jobs and support political objectives. Now, at last, we're focusing on the right priority. But the new subs are going to be costly, and by the time the first one hits the water, most of the current ministry will be long gone from Parliament, and our strategic environment will have changed considerably.